The following video is one of a series of digital stories, songs, and prayers that the amazing folks at Tsow-Tun Le Lum have compiled to help you manage and cope with what can be lonely, fearful, and difficult times. To reach them for confidential help via phone, email, FaceTime, and/or Zoom, please call toll-free at 1-888-403-3123.
Good morning, beautiful people. I am George Jeffrey of Tsimshian, Gitxsan, and I'm on the cultural support team of Tsow-Tun Le Lum. Been there for, I guess, 9 years now. And, I hope a certain time moves so fast. In order for me to do what I do at Tsow-Tun Le Lum, the cultural support team, I adhere to protocols. And that's part of my introduction this morning, is to say that I honor Amabesam Swayinwaha, the big chief in the sky, creator of all things. And I thank the Creator today for allowing me to navigate through the night and to wake up into beautiful creation. And right off the bat, there were some challenges this morning, and to be able to deal with it and ground myself and take care of myself and put myself in a good place. And I thank the Creator for that breath of life to help me take care of myself the way I need to. I also thank the Creator for the beautiful medicines, and each and every one of us that hear this message from me is that we're people connected to territory, to identify who we are, our language, our culture, our medicines, and it's important to honor the Creator and never lose sight of the Creator for all that He represents to us and what the Creator means to us. And just really appreciative, gratitude. Honoring Amabesam Legiget, the beautiful ancestors of the land that I speak with right now, and that's the Qualicum ancestors, honoring them and thanking them for allowing me to be part of the Zoom, sitting on their territory to communicate what I need to communicate here this morning. And they have two questions for me. They want to know who I am and why I'm here. And so I am George Jeffrey, Tsimshian Gitxsan, adopted in the West Coast of Toronto. They call me Humis. And that name Humis means special relationship with the cedar, and also that cedar tree growing from the forest floor, reaching for the light of life. That's always explained to me. So I carry the name with great honor. My mother, she's Metlakatla, Tsimshian, Metlakatla, BC. My father, Tsimshian Gitxsan, his mother from Gitxsan and Hazeltons. My mother's parents are Metlakatla, Tsimshian. Father's Lakwalan is Tsimshian. And when I share my protocol to who I am and where I come from, it's important that people know who I am and where I come from, but more importantly, that I need to know who I am and where I come from. When I say who I am, I honor myself, and when I acknowledge and honor my family, my beautiful ancestors step forward with me. They come to be with me, to let me know that they journey with me in this beautiful life. And the teaching that was shared with me is that the Creator of all things used one energy to create this beautiful creation, and within this creation there's territories where people and ancestors are attached to. And so the saying goes that we come from ancestors. We are here as a different Creator today. One day the ancestors will come collect us. And when I say that, it brings peace to my heart, but also too that life is short, and the ancestors want us to do the best we can in the short time that we're here. To do what we need to do, look after ourselves so we can step up to our roles and responsibilities, and to really learn to live life in a loving way, a compassionate way, and live with that passion, that vibrancy. So it's important that we honor who we are, where we come from. Amabesam Lakhub, as I mentioned, the beautiful territory and what it means, it's so important. It's important to identify. And I need to say that I've been out of my territory for decades, and I go back there a few times a year to visit. I have a beautiful family up there. And I look after myself in the territory of the Qualicum, and never once have they ever said, no, you're not welcome. But I go with it with great respect and great humility to do what I need to do, and I thank them for that. And the last part of the protocol is Amabesam Gyet, the beautiful people, all of you. We're all in this together. whatever environment that we find ourselves in, we have the strength and capacity to adapt. But it's really important to know who you are and where you come from as a starting point. To know that you're not journeying alone. to know that you're loved, and to know that you belong. And that's, and like I said in the protocol connects myself to grounding myself, to my family, to my ancestors, to beautiful creation, from the beautiful creation to the beautiful creator. So it's important to remember that. And so I just want to thank you for taking the time to listen to me. I am George Jeffrey Tsimshian Gitxsan. So, hello everybody, I'm George Jeffrey Tsimshian Gitxsan, and on the cultural support team of Tsow-Tun Le Lum. And the question before me is, what does wellness mean to me? And so the simple answer is to walk in balance. And so I started thinking about, well, what does that mean? And so first off, to walk in balance, there has to be a balance of something. And that balance is the balance of me. And to know that I am spirit, I am emotion, I am mental, and I am physical. And to be able to nourish the spirit, my emotions, my mental, and my physical. So the question then becomes, well, how do I apply that? And I just need to talk a little bit about the history of our people, but when I say that, the history of all of us as a people. We all have our stories, we all have our traumas. And it's important to be aware of those traumas, and also equally important to know what my ancestors had to endure to allow me to be here too, because that connects to my well-being or lack of sometimes. So the more that I understand about what I'm going through, what my father went through, my grandfather, and all the way through with my family. And I also need to say that as a Tsimshian, we are matrilineal people, and yet I use my grandfathers as an example. I found that interesting. So just to know that we all have our stories, and so it's important to pay attention to how those stories live in us. And what I know for certain is that I need to honor what I feel. I've learned that in my journey, is to honor what I feel. Don't need to know where it comes from, but to honor it. To take it to a place where I know that I'm going to be looked after, again, get into that balance. So there was an elder that shared a teaching with all of us in Edmonton 8 years ago, and he talked about as Indigenous people, and he said, at that point, I need to stop and just clarify Indigenous. He said, is there anybody here not Indigenous to this creation? Please stand up. And there wasn't anybody that could stand up. So he made it clear that Indigenous people doesn't apply to First Nations, although it does, those are the terms that describe us. As my wife says in her journey, she was Indian, First Nations, Indigenous, all these different names that were called. But I just want to get back to the definition of Indigenous. It doesn't matter who we are, where we come from. We're all Indigenous to creation. And then he went on to say that as Indigenous people, we will suffer. And so the question is, then how do we take care of ourselves? And he said, go to the place where our spirit is attracted to. And I also need to take a moment now to describe the process of my energy. When the Creator made this beautiful creation, one energy to create all. And the energy that resides in me is in the air, it's in the water, it's in the trees, it's in the oceans and the rivers, and all it is. It's in the stars, it's in this universe, it's in this creation. So when I put that in perspective, my connection or my relationship to creation, what are the bounds? Well, I know in my lifetime I will not be experiencing them all, but I do know for certain that I am loved and I belong. So applying my wellness to to a sacred place to adapt for myself, I know that I'm going to be taken care of. So when I know that whatever I take to these places, I can take care of it there, let it go. Energy on energy. We are on energy that attracts energy, so it's important to get back to that balance, to say, okay, this doesn't belong to me, I need to take care of it. And for me, it's the river, no question. I have gone to the forests, I've gone to the oceans, which I do love, but my place is the river. And I find the river my place that I'm able to take care of myself. And interesting that the colder the river, the more effective it is for me. And I really feel that connection. And then when I go to that river with prayer and protocol, honoring the Creator, the ancestors, the beautiful territory, the people of that territory, when I go into the river and honor the four directions, I'm able to come out and be able to speak to the ancestors directly because I've made my connection to their territory. Even though it may be your own ancestors, it's always good to honor your ancestors or the ancestors of the land that you're on, taking care of yourself. So that place of wellness till people let that go. And the last place I was at, I was accompanied by an elder, and on the way to the river, I shared with the elder that, it's funny, I have a headache. So we kept talking and walking, and I went to the river, preparing protocol and intention. I came out, my headache was gone, and we were walking back, and I said to the elder, I said, yeah, my headache's gone. He goes, yeah. He goes, I saw it floating down the river. So I found that to be accurate. I found that to be true, that I never put it in that perspective because I knew the river took it, but in his humor and his wisdom that he was able to put in perspective for me. And it always stuck with me. Obviously, I'm sharing it right now. So, go into that place of that wellness and to know that when we do this get on our healing journey, that when we do this, start this journey, we're on the journey, we're never alone. And the thing I need to talk about too is in my story, in my experience of my life, I have my story, and so along the way, I always, as a young boy, I was told never to show my feelings or show tears, that there was a sign of weakness. But I assure you, as I sit here and I speak with you, these tears are absolutely sacred indicators that we're healing in the right way. And when I say that, I think of the tear itself, and when I think of my journey and how much pain, or in terms of poison, that my body's letting go of in these tears. And when I think about the sacredness of not being alone, ancestors, creation, creator, and beautiful creation, is that connection to creation and a higher power is a joy. So in this tear, yeah, there may be pain, there may be poisons, but there always will be the presence of sacredness, of clear water, to remind you of your bravery and your courage, your strength and your resiliency to get things done. Always, so always be that place of honor for you. So it's important to know that. And again, the question I'm just going to say again is, what is awareness? Well, awareness to what is, to what you feel. Awareness to know I have access to. And that ties into wellness. Getting back to that balance of nourishing your spirit, nourishing your emotions, and like I mentioned, this nourishing the emotions is by mentally putting the words to it. What am I feeling? And let the process, whatever that be, take its course and stay with that feeling as long as we can. The longer we stay with it, we process it, it actually leaves, that energy leaves our body. And that's the thing that I just really want to reiterate, is that these traumas that I'm unpacking, they have an energy attached to it. And The Creator provides medicines to take care of it, but it's up to us to seek it. And it's up to us to acknowledge it and to let it go. And the Creator's medicines will do that. But also, too, when I talk about emotions, it's important for us to put the words to it, sometimes we have to relive it to let it go. And when we let it go, we carry on less to pack. So that's what I know for certain in my life. As the elders talked about, that we're not alone. And the protocol states that the Creator is always with us when we ask for help, our ancestors. Going to the beautiful creation like I talked about, and the beautiful people to know that we all have our stories. And in my language, the thing I need to say too is I'm saying it to the best of my abilities, but it's called Flumsk. And that's respect and honor at the same time. At the same time. In order to do that, it's important that we look after ourselves, to put ourselves in a place that gives us the opportunity to do the best we can, in spite of our hurts. And another elder shared a teaching with me, and she raised up her hand and she said, "This is us, and this is us living our vibrant life as we move forward in that balance." And then her hand stopped and it started to tilt. And she says, the more that it tilts, the more that you need to take care of yourself. And the more that it tilts, the communication of your body talking to you, your neck, your headaches, your back pains, your joints, they're all saying something to you. To say, go take care of me. Go to the river, go to the ocean, go to the forest, or go take a shower with the intention to say, Creator, rinse off what's not mine. Put the words to it. But really important too to know who you are and why you're there. So you state who you are and why you're there. That's what I do, and it really helps me. These messages that are being put out, they must be put out. I know this is what's helped me in my life. It's with great gratitude that I say this, and it's an honor for me to speak this morning on the relations. I am George Jeffrey at Tsimshian Gitxsan, and I really want to thank you for taking the time to listen. And the question again is, how do I define wellness? And when I put it in perspective right now as I say that, I have to go back to let you know that I am intergenerational survivor. My grandparents went to residential school, and the things that happened in the residential school were passed down through the generations to my father, to me. And so when I put that in perspective to wellness, the place of where I started from, I have to share that shame that I carry doesn't belong to me or our people. It belongs to the residential school and the colonizers and their attempts to colonize us. So when I put that in perspective, it takes the weight off my shoulders. That's something that I don't have to pack. I mean, don't have to. What I have to do is I know I have to deal with it, even though it doesn't belong to me. And so, having said that, I look back at my life and I think of these vortexes that I was in, and my family was in, as a result of this trauma, this complex trauma. And then as we live in our lives, we have other events happen, losses of loved ones, and that's compounded on top of the complex trauma. So the question is, how do we move forward from that? And our culture shows us the way. When we understand that the culture comes from the creator of all things, Amabesam Smwagablaha, the big chief in the sky, creator of all things, and was provided for us. And what I'm saying now, I didn't understand when I was younger, but as I'm sharing now, I'm going to go back and forth to say that we are loved and we are looked after. And in this beautiful creation, we are a people of a land. And what's been shared about the elders, by the elders, that our ancestors walk with us, we come from them. We are here as gift from Creator today. One day they come to collect us. And when I say that, that brings comfort to me to live this life to my fullest, to be the best I can, because I incorporate all that who my people are, their strengths, their courage, their wisdoms, their love, their philosophies, their connection to creation, connection to Creator. These are cultural teachings that I know that have helped me along the way. And in some of my events, when I look back at it, it was the cultural connection that helped me move forward when I was in my darkest times. And I know this is about wellness, but I ended up losing my little daughter when she was 20 months old. And that took me down into a really deep, dark place. And so I know people were trying to help me. They were trying to let me know they're thinking of me, but I was so raw. I had kind of walking around and there's this energy field that didn't allow me to connect. I was just doing my best to stay alive. And so just a couple of months go by, and my brother-in-law, Henry Clifton, comes up to me and he says to me, he goes, "I think I know what you need." And he said to me, "Meet me tomorrow and at 11 o'clock and we'll I'll see you then," he said. So when he arrived, he brought cedar, West Coast cedar. So as I told you, I'm George Jeffrey Tsimshian Gitxsan. So my mother, she's from Metlakatla on the coast. And at the time, that's where I was living in Prince Rupert. And so what he did is he ran the bath, he did his prayer, and then he scrubbed me from head to toe. And as that process was happening, I could feel that healing, that love from Creator helping me. It's just that it's like that warmth, that medicine that I needed at this time to really get me started where I needed to go. And I thanked him for that. So just as I was moving forward in my life, and at that time again, I used the word wellness, but that I wasn't using that word back then. I was just trying to survive. And when I look back at it, if it wasn't for the love of the people towards me, it might have been a different story for me. It would have been a different story for me. I know that. So grateful for the people, grateful for Creator's medicines, grateful for the land, and grateful to the Creator. I can say that as I sit here because in my journey, I'm well on my way in my healing journey now. And when I use the word healing journey, it's meant to be used in a good way, that we have to be careful in how we use words to describe what's happening. And sometimes these words are words of avoidance for people, that we want to encourage them to come in and to work on themselves. But if we label it the wrong way, then we don't see them. So the thing that where I'm at now too, is I'm piecing this together as I speak with you, is to challenge. It was been said before me, this previous speaker talked about challenging the language. And I agree 100% with that. I don't know my traditional language, Samalyic, Tsimshian. I know some words. I know my protocol and how to say in my language, but I don't understand. I can't speak it fluently. But what I do know for sure about our language, it is connected to our land. And what was shared with me probably 6 years ago by a young elder, and she took on the responsibility of learning her language. And the challenge became almost insurmountable. And so what she did to keep herself going, she approached an elder for advice. And the elder said to her, go to the place in your territory of stillness and listen to the sounds of the territory. The sounds of the territory is the sounds of your language. So I find that very powerful and inspiring, and I find it very loving, and I find it a connection to creation, connection to the Creator. So when I put that in perspective, it is very powerful. And the word that comes to mind right now is humility. Is that when I think about the magnitude of that teaching, or the language, or Creator's medicines, I'm not more important or less important, but equally important too, in a humble way. And when I put that in perspective to the best of my abilities, it is empowering, it is loving. And I know that I belong. And the other thing I need to say too in this wellness journey is that we're not here for a long time. And it's important that, well, for me, in my story, where I sit right now, I feel a sense of accomplishment to improve my life. And when I improve my life, I improve the life of my family. Earlier, I talked about being intergenerational, and the product of that paternal way. For me, when I look back at it, I was a caveman. When I got together with my wife, we got together very young, and I had my set ways. A man's going to do this, a man's going to do that, and a woman's going to do this, and a woman's going to do that. Well, that lasted a little while, not long, and my wife just said, "This is not going to work for me." And that was a critical point for me, because I could have stayed in that way and said, "That's who I am." But I weighed out, what am I saying to her? How is it affecting her and my family? And why is she taking a stand to this? I found it interesting. So when I thought about it, that was a moment of reckoning for me, to say, you know what, you're right. You're absolutely right. And what comes to mind in my language is hlumsk, and that's respect and honor at the same time. And that's what I came back to her and say, yes, I hear what you're saying to me. And yes, it is time for change. But it was only then, when I truly understood it, that I could say that. I wasn't saying that to survive a moment with her without that understanding. It was a true connection to her concern for herself and her family. And I am a part of her family, and she is my family. So it's important to understand, what am I trying to defend, or what am I defending, and to have a look at it, and to ask the question: is it helping me, or is it hurting me? And it's really a simple process. If it's going to hurt me or my family or the people around me, then obviously the answer is going to be no. I will not do that. And having said that, though, getting back to the complex trauma, it's quite fascinating. And what I will say from a from a cultural standpoint, this trauma that lives in me is less than when I started talking about it in my early years. And the reason it's less than, because I'm able to deal with it. And in simplified terms, this trauma is an energy that resides in me, and it lives in me. And so in the teachings, it talks about energies that live in our body will stay there as long as we allow it. And the being never forgets until it's taken care of in the right way. So important to remember. And so for me, I'm very fortunate that I have access to the spruce, which is a very powerful cleanser purifier, goes into the past and takes care of what needs to be taken care of. I also work with the cedar. It's a very powerful protector. And also the hemlock, it's a very powerful restoration, revitalization. And what these three boughs have in common is that they pull off what don't belong to you and they hold it. And then because the boughs were gathered with prayer and protocol, honoring the creator, the ancestors, the beautiful territory, and the people of that territory, and combined to my protocol, to who I am, my parents, grandparents, and my territory, and why I'm there, those boughs become powerful medicines directly from the creator. So they pull off what don't belong. And when I return back the medicines to creation, the messages from the people that received the medicines, the messages go directly to their ancestors and creator. And the ancestors and creator deal with what needs to be dealt with. And the people that have done the good work are honored. So I find that very empowering. And it's an honor and a privilege for me to go and to be a part of gathering creators medicine. And then when I think about the process of what the water represents, represents a great deal of the earth, a great deal of our being, our bodies. And in the process of looking after ourselves through the spruce cedar hemlock, emotions come out. And when those emotions come out, sometimes the tears come down. And so it's important to wash off those tears. And so the water is gathered with prayer and protocol and returned back to the root system of a tree. The messages from the people that wash their face go into the root system, into creation, to ancestors and creator. The fire that's behind me right now, the white candle, represents the light of creator, but also the warmth of creator, but also a gateway to our ancestors. I'm not going to get deep into that, but we are looked after. We are looked after in so many ways. And to know that where I come from in terms of my childhood to my process of being where I'm at now, I look back at the days of that intergenerational survival. And I say that survival was dark days. Then I start the process of looking after myself, looking after my spirit, my emotions. And when I say my emotions, putting the words to what my feelings are. And our physical being the map to say that's where it's at. That's where that energy is residing. So interesting, this whole process, it's definitely a process, a position of love. It's a position of compassion, of understanding, patience. And it's always going to be my sacred duty to look after myself, even to my last breath. And I find that in itself very empowering to be the best I can be here. And I'm not saying I'm perfect, because I'm not. I'm a human being doing the best I can and interpreting what is around me, being aware of what's around me. And what I do know for certain is that whatever's around, through my awareness, I'm going to be looked after, because I'll use my heart, my mind, my intelligence, and my spirit to make sure that I'm looked after in a way that I must look after myself, and to be aware of what my body is saying to me in the present moment. Because in wellness, communication is a big part of it, not just from the words that are shared, but how we position ourselves and how we look at people. And sometimes even saying that some of my actions have triggered people. And to be patient with that we're all hurting. We all have our stories. And so I want to, in my language, in Gitxsan, Amabessus Mangal Ha, that's thank you, big chief in the sky, creator of all things. and Gitxsan Besum Get. Thank you, beautiful ancestors. And Gitxsan Lakyu. Thank you, beautiful territory. And Gitxsan Besum Get. Beautiful people. That we are all in this together, and I love life, and I thank the Creator every day for allowing me to navigate through the night to wake up and to see what the day has to offer, and continue to be fascinated by this beautiful love that's bestowed upon us by creation and the Creator. All my relations. I just have to say right now, I am emotional right now. And it's not because of what I said, it's because of what was shared before me. And you know what, I'm really okay with my feelings. I just grateful to be able to honor what they are. And one thing I didn't share in there was the 7 primary emotions that have really helped me put in categories of where I'm at. And so there's the 7 primary emotions of what I feel has helped me navigate through my feelings is the pain. I talked about that in the pain of intergenerational survival, that big fear, the fear of, and you know what, the fear of admitting that I'm fearful was something really big for me back in the day, and I don't anymore. I tell people that I have fear, and I honor that fear. And that fear is here with a purpose. That's to keep me alive, but not to be to the point where fear controls me. And there's that balance again. And then loneliness to say that, in this hurt, sometimes I do feel alone. And I talked about that shame that belongs to the colonizers, the Indian residential schools, and that whole process of the churches, and like even what's happening today to our people. That shame doesn't belong to us. It belongs to the people that try to instill what they want to instill in terms of that control. It doesn't apply to all the people, but some of the people. And there's that guilt. Sometimes I'll feel that guilt of what things that I've done in my life. Of course, the anger, I mentioned that. But I never want to lose sight of the joy, the joy of life, the joy of connection, the joy of being. And so with those primary emotions, from the pain comes healing, from the fear comes wisdom, from the loneliness comes friendship, from the shame comes humility, from the guilt, amends, anger comes strength, joy is also healing. Yeah, the 2 ladies that shared before me, I did such a wonderful job, and I just and then I shared my story, and then that led me to where I'm at now, and I'm just going to honor that. And I do feel tension along my shoulders there, and I know how to self-regulate, and I'm going to do that right now. And one thing about self-regulation, it's about controlling that vagus nerve, and that's from the bottom of the brainstem that comes down, and it connects to the organs all through our stomach. And the thing about that vagus nerve and how it branches off into our organs, there's in our stomach we have this neurocells, and what I've learned, it weighs about 3 pounds, the same weight as our brain in our head. And the thing about the neural cells in our stomach is that area is responsible for producing 90% of the bacteria that we need to survive. So, that gut feeling, or, when we feel pain, or we feel trauma, that we feel it in our guts and our body starts processing, it's important to honor that and to take care of that. And so I talked about self-regulation or calming the vagus nerve. Well, breathing does it. Purposeful breathing does it. Drumming and singing does it. Cold water calms the vagus nerve. And so when I say this, the drumming, the singing, the dancing, the cold water, that ties into the cultural teachings of self-care and wellness. So that's important to know, that it'll always be there for us as long as we do our part to protect it. And I must emphasize that too. We must protect it. So I just want to, again, just grateful for today. Grateful for what was shared before me. And I really thank the speakers. And I thank John for recording and offering his wisdom and his experience of life to help us all move forward, because we're all in this together, one big canoe, doing what we need to do, going in the same direction, one heart, one mind, one spirit, one rhythm. And when things aren't right, canoe protocol says go ashore, circle up, deal with it, and then carry on. All my relations.